Welcome to the next video. In this video, I want to show you which IDE we will use in the course. We will use the IDE Visual Studio Code, or in short, VS Code. This IDE is completely free and you can download and install it on Linux, Mac and Windows. That is a great benefit for an IDE to be able to install it on the three big operating systems. Also, IntelliSense, Debugger, Git is built in, and you can install many more extensions for your needs. VS Code is the editor that you can use for nearly every programming language. Hence, you do not need like 10 programs for 10 different programming languages. You can just code here in VS Code for C, C++, Python, Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, and so on. You do not need dozens of different programs now. You can just get started here with VS Code. If you want to use another IDE, that is completely okay. For example, you could use PyCharm or Atom, for example. That would be okay. Sometimes I will show some features that are only applicable to VS Code, or some extensions that we will install here in VS Code. So sometimes you have a slight disadvantage, I would say, if you use another IDE, but you are free to use another IDE. But I would really recommend to get started here with VS Code because it's a really amazing IDE. Okay, I will start here the download for Windows x64. You can download here the stable user installer for Windows. Also here for Mac and Linux, I would recommend to download the stable installer. So if you now run the setup, it's pretty straightforward. I will accept here, and I can leave all ticks here as they are per default. So then I will go here on install, and this would be the installation. So at next, we can start VS Code. So I type here Visual Studio Code. I will start with VS Code, and now we can go here in the upper left corner on File, and then we can click on Open Folder. So since we already downloaded, or you may cloned the content of the course, we can navigate to the directory where I have unzipped my zip, which is here on the desktop. So I can choose this folder here and open it. So now you should see here on the left side the workspace that we are currently in, and there you should see the folders for chapter 2, 3, 4. And if you created the virtual environment, here is also the folder for this virtual environment. Okay, next we will set some settings here. We go on the bottom left corner here on Manage, and then on Settings. And if you look in the upper right corner where my mouse is, here should be a little icon about Open Settings in parentheses JSON. So I will click now on that, and this opens our user-defined settings of VS Code. As you already saw in a previous lecture, in the first chapter, I added some pre-configured settings. So if you go back to lecture 4, I have listed up all VS Code settings that I would recommend to you. So you just have to copy the whole entry here for VS Code settings, copy and paste it here in the settings.json file. These are the settings that I would recommend for you. For example, we activate all the linters that I will show in chapter 2. Also, I set up our AutoDocString extension, which we will install in a few seconds. And these are the default settings I would recommend to you. If you want to set any other settings, you can scroll through the settings tab here and look for some settings you want to change. So you can just type here if you want to change the font size, for example. You can just type here font, and you see here the editor font size, for example, could be changed, and so on. Okay, so at next we have to install some extensions. For that, we go here on the left on this extension icon here, and here we have now a field where we can type in some extensions. I also listed all extensions that we need here. So we need the Python extension, the PyLens, the Python docstring generator, the Test Explorer UI, and the Python Test Explorer for Visual Studio Code. So we need these 5 extensions, and you can just type here in the field Python, and then you should find the Python extension from Microsoft. Then you just install it. Yeah, there should be a green install button. Also, we need to install PyLens. Yeah, you type in PyLens here, PyLens for Microsoft. You install also this extension. Then we need, let me look in the list, we need the Python docstring generator, Python docstring generator here from Niels Werner. Just install it again. At next, we need the Test Explorer UI by Holger Bennel. Yeah. And at last, we need the Python Test Explorer. So I just type here Python Test Explorer by the Little Fox team. So these are the extensions we need. If you now remove here the typed in, you would see all installed extensions on your VS Code here. There are many more extensions, as I said before, for other programming languages. For example, I also use VS Code for C, C++ programming, for example. So VS Code is very versatile to use. At next, you should restart VS Code to correctly load in the extensions you have installed. So I can just restart VS Code, and you should still be here in the workspace of our course content. Okay, at next we need to activate our Python environment that we want to use. Here in the bottom left corner should be an entry of select interpreter. And if you click on that, you get here a pop-up list where you could choose all the environments that are installed by Anaconda, for example. So I could here activate my, let me check, my PyUdemy environment, for example. That is the Anaconda environment. Also, the Python extension found the local VMF PyUdemy environment. So your environment should be listed here. If not, you can go on enter interpreter path, and then you can enter the absolute path to the Python exe for Windows, or just to the Python executable on Linux or Mac. Okay, so I will just choose PyUdemy here, and now in the bottom left corner there should be PyUdemy. Okay, at next we can run a Python file, for example. So we can just create a Python file here for the moment. I call it test.py, just to show you how you can run Python files. If you are already familiar with VS Code, you can skip from now on the video. Okay, just print hello world to the console. Just a little example here. We now could here in the upper right corner click on the play button, and then the Python file would be executed with the selected Python environment that is here listed in the bottom left corner. So if I run it here, we will see the terminal pops up and we see hello world is printed in the console. Also, we see that the Python extension used the correct Python environment here. Okay. You could also run the file if you make a right click here and go to run Python file in terminal. That would be the same. That's about running Python files. As you saw, the terminal popped up here as I started running the Python file. And yes, the terminal is here the same for Windows as the CMD, and on Mac and Linux it's just the standard terminal. If you want to use any other terminal like Fish or ZSH or something like that, you have to set it in the settings here in VS Code. Okay, if I want to close the terminal, I can go here on the bin, kill terminal. And if you want to open the terminal by yourself, you can go here in the upper left corner on terminal, new terminal. And the good thing here is the Python environment will be automatically activated. So here PyUdemy is directly activated, and the current working directory here is open in the terminal also. This is pretty handy. Okay, at next I want to go quickly on the different features here. On the left bar here, the first icon is the Explorer to see our project structure. The next would be a search where you can search and replace text that you search for in your code files, for example, if you click here on the 3 dots, we will get another pop-up here where we can put in a regular expression, for example, to filter for certain files or to exclude certain files. The next icon here would be source control. For example, we could here use Git and connect with GitHub, for example. The next item would be the debugger window, which I will show in chapter 3. So for the moment, we will skip this. And as you saw here, we had the extension part, and you should already see here the tests part. This is a test explorer where all tests should be listed if any tests are in your current Python file. Currently, we haven't done any unit tests, so I will skip this also for the moment. So this is the basics of VS Code. And I hope you will use it in the future because, in my opinion, it's a really, really good IDE. Okay, that's enough for the moment. Then we will see us in the next video. Bye-bye.